So besides the cards deal, do you actually see your guys fight?
Yeah, yeah.
It's mostly an RTS.
It is.
'Cause
It is 90% RTS, but what units you bring is up to you. There are some restrictions to what units you bring.
It's not very micro-intensive, right?
It is sort of because
Well,
the
it's not StarCraft, I think.
no, but the more competitive you get, the more you'll need to manage your units. And that's, why I kept saying to you, once you get up to that level, you're gonna have it's about fucking inches rather than miles.
As it always is with really good matchups.
Yeah. All right, I'm not sure if my stream is up yet.
Hey, I'm back.
All right. I think my stream should be up on my channel. Yep, should be live.
Let me ask you a question. When I played Age of Empires kind of competitively, it was important to me that the hotkeys were intuitive, because basically you had to do all hotkeys to save that time. Is that pretty decent on this game?
You can change it to however you want it. There are no set hotkeys. In the options, you can literally adjust every single hotkey. And these are the hotkeys that you have. Change focus, toggle unit viewer, evacuate, reverse, smoke at position, land, regroup, switch altitude, unload, attack, move fast, fire position, spread, split, stop, unit information, deployment menu, camera right, camera down, camera left, camera up. You can also set control groups. For instance, you grab a couple of units, you hit control 1, then you press 1, and you'll have your control group up.
Yeah, cool.
And I hear everything double.
Yeah, I think it's, if you're watching the stream, I think it's better if Grim Panda just asks questions and the rest of you mute up, or at least, that you could hear us only once. Right, so I will...
Well, I'm about to be finished downloading if you want to spank me pretty good.
Sure, we could do that.
Why don't you play another game first? I'm at like 25%-ish right now.
Alright. Well, anyway, I'm currently looking at the deck list. Basically, you create a deck, you choose your faction, red 4 or blue 4. There is a distinct difference between red 4 and blue 4, as in, blue 4 is NATO, and red 4 is, what you would expect red 4 to be if the Cold War had turned into a war. And that's the storyline here. This is the what-if scenario if, the U.S. and Russia went to war without using nukes. That's the what-if scenario you're looking at. So for Blue 4, for instance, you'd have all the nations that fall under Blue 4, which is USA, United Kingdom, France, West Germany, Canada, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Anzac, Japan, South Korea. Then you've got 4 coalitions, which is Eurocorps, Scandinavia, Commonwealth, and Blue Dragons. From a competitive point of view, Commonwealth and Eurocorps are really powerful. Blue Dragons is not bad, but it's not as powerful as Eurocorps or Commonwealth. Then you've got USA by itself as a national strength is pretty damn powerful. It's not as powerful as it was, but it's still pretty damn powerful. For Red 4, you've got East Germany, URSS, which is supposed to be USSR, but they always make this mistake and they never fucking correct it. Poland, you got Czechoslovakia, you got China, you got North Korea, you've got your coalitions, which are Eastern Bloc and Red Dragons. Red Dragons would be China, North Korea. Eastern Bloc would be Poland, Czechoslovakia, and East Germany. And you'll notice that there's one nation that is not in the coalitions, and that would be the URSS. Why? Because the USSR by itself is such a powerhouse in this game that it is slightly more powerful than USA is out of the gate.
So, what is the difference between picking, say, China and the Red Dragons? Like, what gets hurt there? Obviously, something gets nerfed if you go with a coalition.
And to everyone currently watching my stream, thank you guys all very much for being here. I'm just helping someone understand the deck system. Right, okay, sorry, I was talking about viewers. Right, so basically what we're looking at here is that if you're picking China, you'll have a slight increase to your availability. I think it's a 50% increase to your availability. I'm not sure if that's entirely true, maybe it's 10%, but it is a slight increase to your availability because you're just playing a national deck. You will also have access to all the prototypes that nation has for picking just the national bonus. If you were to pick no bonus, right? If you were to have your pick from every single Red 4 nation there, you would get no bonuses whatsoever, no availability bonuses, no era bonuses, no type bonuses. You would also get no prototypes from any nation. And prototype units can often make the difference between your deck being super awesome and your deck being meh. So prototypes is something that most people want, so that most people pick either a nation bonus like USSR, which coincidentally does not get an availability bonus because it's the fucking USSR. And availability means amount of units that you can call in per card, and I'll explain that further in a second. If you pick a coalition, you don't get bonuses like that. You simply get your Red Dragons, which would be the prototype units and every other unit of the two nations of that coalition. So that's the difference there.
Okay.
Further than that, you can also pick era bonuses, which is units before or after a certain era. Of course, if you pick units before 1985, you will get another availability bonus. So, for instance, any unit that was created in 1985 or before will get like a 50% availability bonus, which means you can call more of them in. They still cost the same, but you can have more of them on the battlefield at the same time.
Now, can you pick era with the nationality deck or bonus, or do you have to
yes,
pick one?
you can pick a national/coalition deck. You can pick a type, which would be motorized, armored, support, naval, mechanized, or airborne, and you can pick an era. Now, if you pick motorized, for instance, and this is where it gets too much bullshit for my taste, but some people do enjoy it. Let's say I pick motorized, right? You become limited to units that only have the tag motorized. So, for instance, if an army wing, doesn't classify an F-16 as a motorized unit, you cannot pick that unit as a card for your motorized deck. But you do get +1 experience, which basically makes the units more accurate, less morale damage and stuff like that, for certain types of units like recon, vehicle, helo. Also, activation points will be lowered for those class of units, so which allows you to be able to field more of those units, or at least, have those points to spend somewhere else, and not waste them somewhere there. You also get more slots available for, in this case, recon and vehicle, which allows you to pick more recon vehicles and vehicles should you choose. Okay. This, like I said, this becomes too much for me to even bother dealing with, because I never use it, and I'll be very frank about it. It's because the type decks feel more like they're flavor based, as in if you want that type of flavor and you want to lean
Fluff
to
based.
Yes, exactly. It's there just to prop it up, and at least that's what I feel about it.
Yeah, it just almost seems like a glass cannon mechanic where you can drill down on a certain thing, but you're going to leave yourself weaker in different areas because you specialize.
Like, for instance, you want to be an infantry player, right? So you're like, oh my god, I'll pick the one that gives bonus to infantry. Let's see, and then you look through this and you go, I think it's mechanized or airborne. Yeah, mechanized, for instance. +1 XP for infantry. But then you go to open your deck, and then you'll see that the unit that you wanted more of might not be there, because it's not a mechanized infantry unit. See, and that's one of the things where I go, But yeah.
Seems like it could be strong if you could find a specific type that counters or has a counter to all other types. Or if you can't, you could just kind of rush an early game if you start with a bonus to experience.
Yeah, no,
Force
very
an advantage
true.
that covers your weaknesses.
Very true, but this is the fun of Wargame, is now that you own the game, you get to try all this shit out, and you get to do it how you want to do it, and you'll notice really quickly what you tend to lean towards. But right now, the meta is very well rounded with a strong emphasis on infantry. So I wouldn't bother with types right now. I would just bother with learning the game, and I could do that with just picking a national deck and just having fun with it.
And do you mess with era
Or
at
not.
all?
With what?
Do you mess with the era at all?
No, I don't mess with the era either, because if I lower the era, I'll only do that if I still have access to a specific type of unit that I want a lot of, or that I want, something. If I feel that it can give you an edge in certain situations, then I might mess with the era. But as of right now, I haven't invested too much time in it, so I couldn't tell you what the right era bonuses would be for what nation.
Yeah, it's pretty much when I look at it, it seems like what I would do: pick a national deck, and then move on. Okay, so now you've figured out your deck and you've named it. What happens next?
Right. Let me just pick, for instance, Commonwealth, and I'll just call this test. All right. So I've created my deck, and now you'll have an overview with a certain amount of activation points at the top right. It'll take you a little bit to catch up.
Yeah, you're making it right now for me.
Right, I'll just keep talking. So basically what you're looking at here is you've got your logistic, you got your infantry, you got your support, you got your tank, you got your recon, your vehicle, helo, plane, naval. That's where all those, little types of units came from. At the top right here, we've got activation points, which currently says 0 out of 60. You'll see that, to pick one unit in every category costs 1 point for that one. But if you want a second unit in that category, it'll cost you 2 activation points to put that one in. And another one costs another 2. So let's say you fill out the logistic tree with 5 units, it would cost you a total of 10 points. So basically, to balance everything out, because there are more than 6. I think there's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 even. Jesus, I didn't even realize that. So yes, there's 8 little trees, and as you can see, with the availability, it only allows you to have 5 cards per category. As in, you can only have 5 logistics category cards, and everything else is set to 5. If you play with the mechanized stuff, it can unlock the extra 4 or other slots to your availability, and you can have more cards for that particular thing. Then you've also got naval units at the bottom, but we're not paying attention to those right now because fuck it. There's one bug currently in the game, which is that you have to pick a naval CV, boat CV, just because otherwise the game breaks. So I'm just gonna grab that one first. And alright, now for your command units, these are some of the most important units in the game because you need to cap zones. Capping zones gives you income and gives you basic map control. They are very fragile units. They are, most of the time you're keeping them at the back of the zone, and you're using your army to shield them from, getting shot or getting killed or whatever. You've got your infantry command units, which, as you say, they're infantry. They can hide in buildings, they can hide in forests, that sort of stuff. You got your helicopter command units. These are not used as much because you can now put infantry in helicopters, just fly the helicopters over, then unload the infantry and leave the helicopters away. Helicopters are the most exposed because they can't hide in bushes or in forests or anything like that. You've got your tank CVs, which will take a punch from artillery. You've got your basic car, Jeep CVs and stuff like that. You need, usually what people will have is they'll have a cheap Jeep CV and they'll have a infantry helicopter CV. So that's what we're going to pick right now. Let me just give me a second. Alright, we'll take that one. The reason why I'm taking that one is because it's just got a fast helicopter with it. As you'll see, as I pick it, it has availability of 3, so I can call in 3 for the game, during the game, and if they all die, I can't call in anymore. I'll need some, I think I'll need some man caddies. There we go, some man caddies. I'll need an FOB. An FOB is basically a supply point where your man caddies can refuel and resupply, but any of your units that need supply because you actually expend ammunition will need an FOB or at least supply units to refuel and resupply during the game to move on. And it'll happen more than you think. Alright, so I've got my helicopter infantry CV, I've got my rover CP, which is Jeep, got my helicopter cargo transports, I've got my man caddy vehicle transports, supply transports, and I've got my FOB to resupply the cargo and the man caddies. That's basically your logistics tree. Now, if you ever truly need points, delete the fob and hope that your teammate is nice enough to put a fob down at the start. Because you can never place a fob down after the game has started. You can only place it down during the setup phase. Okay, so that's logistics. Alright, now for infantry, right? There are many different types of infantry. You've got your anti-aircraft, you got your anti-tank, your engineer, and your rifles. Engineer are usually anti-infantry or some other kind of specialized unit. You've got your anti-tank, which usually have longer than regular range ATGMs, anti-tank guided missiles. And you've got your anti-aircraft, which usually have stingers or LODs or something like that to take care of the enemy. Now we're Commonwealth, so we're gonna exploit Commonwealth to no end, and Commonwealth have really powerful units if you know what to use. For instance, this right here, this SAS unit has an anti-tank, an AT-4, an M16, and a Stinger. Now, it doesn't really seem that powerful, but the fact that they're elite units, they're 10 strength, they're very small, they move at 30 kilometers an hour, they are currently, the strongest man pads in the game. So we'll take at least one of those. Now, as you see, I'll double-click them, and they show up at the top, and it'll have 8 availability, but let's say that I want another unit of these, but I want them elite. This is where the elite, here at the top right, you'll see rookie, trained, hardened, veteran, and elite. You'll see that I can either have 8 veterans, which get plus 24% accuracy, 30% dispersion on artillery shots, 50 morale recovery, 50% more chances to see and identify enemy units, and minus 60% stun effect. Or I can have 6 of them, and all those stats are increased by a factor. I have just started streaming. This is the pre.
Okay, this seems to make sense.
This is me just helping out someone who wanted to buy the game. And to everyone currently in my stream, thank you guys all very much for being here. Didn't realize I'd get up to 16 just showcasing the game to someone, but here we are. This is also why my stream timer is not currently running, because I'm just showcasing the game. So right, okay. So you can pick your veterancy on the units and all that. I've got my man pads. I need something that kills infantry. Now Royal Marines, I know, have a very high accuracy on their guns, so we'll take some of them. We need something that is basically cannon fodder. You'll pick your territorials. Usually what people do is when they pick territorials, they're very cheap. They can't really shoot or hit for shit. Their ATGMs mostly miss. They mostly just sit there and die because they're reservists. But, you use them to sort of hold something for a little bit longer than something that doesn't need holding or doesn't have territorials that hold it.
What exactly is a territorial?
It's a reservist. It just so happens to be this dex, this coalition's version of a reservist.
Gotcha.
You can also see that their training, for instance, is militia. Yeah, and all that basically just means is that they're really, 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 really low on the totem pole of experience and training. They're basically just people that have enlisted, have been given a gun, and are told to go over there and fight.
Gotcha.
But they're very cheap. So because they're very cheap, you get a lot of them, and you use them to hold or defend points or to take points, or at least to act as a meat shield for your more expensive units that can kill everything else.
Yeah, exactly. That's really cool.
So yeah, I mean, I could pick more units for you, but if this was my personal deck, I'd just pick another unit of Royal Marines, probably just a Royal Marine 90, same in the Stalwart. And I'd pick another group of SAS in Lynx. Why? Because this is just who I am, and I really love the SAS and the Royal Marines. And I don't need a million fucking infantry. So basically, all I have is I'm very specialized here. I don't even have ATGMs to really deal with stuff. But you can have Milans, for instance, which have 2,500 range, 2,450 range against tanks, which means that their range is longer than tanks, and they'll be shooting ATGMs at them. So that's something that would be really good against tanks. Except I don't see tanks as an infantry threat. So right now, what I've got is I've got highly specialized infantry for anti-air and for anti-infantry that basically are shielded by the territorials. That's the way that I've built this deck. All right.
Jesus, there are a lot of options in this game.
Yes. If you just go
I
to
just
the
spent
armory.
like 5 minutes looking through all the planes.
Yes. And
Any
unfortunately,
recommendation for a starter deck?
if you want, I can give you one.
Sure. Just get a feel for the units. Like, I could throw something together, but it would just be literally a random hodgepodge of dudes.
The most fun is always making the decks yourself, but
Of course.
wait, I didn't mean to copy it.
You know what? Scratch it. I'll make one myself. It'll suck, but I'll make it.
Okay. Hold on, I'm just making sure these are the exact same decks.
So, what's a good readout for what a counter would be? So I see the stats here, like HE power, suppression, etc., etc.
Right.
AP power.
I'm sorry. Could you rephrase the question one more time?
So AP power obviously means armor penetration, so that's probably against high armor air vehicles or tanks, right? HE, I'm guessing, is against infantry, and suppression seems like it would be the same thing.
Yeah, suppression has a morale effect, whereas HE does damage to to lightly armored units and infantry units. It also does damage to tanks, but not as much. And AP does damage solely to tanks. That's the distinction between the two. That's why AP usually is a very high number and HE is a very low number, because the things that can damage infantry and light vehicles don't need to be that strong yet, but still need to be able to damage everything. Whereas AP only targets vehicles and armor, so that's where the high AP numbers come from.
Armor
Okay.
versus high explosives.
Right, let's see. Oh, the best thing about Commonwealth, by the way, is these, they have tracked rapier FSAs. They're really, really fun. But what they also have is these Stormers, HMVs. Why are these so much fun? Is because if you look at this Saklos missile right here, it can shoot ground with 2,800 meters, so it's an ATGM. It can shoot helicopters at almost 3,000 meters, which is further than most AAs. And it can shoot airplanes as well. So basically, this thing can shoot at everything except for infantry. I mean, it does have a machine gun on it, but let's face it, if you're ever shooting at something with the machine gun, you're not using that unit properly. Then you've got the Canadian ones, which are ADATs, which have the exact same quality. So you'll start to see a pattern here. The Commonwealth decided to develop these ATGMs specifically for the purpose of being able, multi-purpose against air and against ground. Then you've also got the Brits, who just decided to just say, fuck it, let's grab a Challenger a Challenger body and stick a fucking twin KDA on it, which is just a flak cannon pretty much, which coincidentally are the heaviest armored anti-air units in the game. So these are never amiss to have Challenger Marksmen in your deck. The reason why I picked Tracked FSA at the start was because these things, they drive at 150 road speed, even though they're tracked. They shouldn't. They're also amphibious at 77 kilometers an hour, which is faster than their ground speed, which again shouldn't. It does not compute. But the greatest thing about these things is the fact that they shoot really, really fucking quickly. And they're relatively accurate. So these are really good in my opinion. Unfortunately though, we've only got one slot left, and if you want artillery, it goes in this same category. I mean, if you want mortars, if you want something else, if you want some actual artillery, you'll have to do it in the support slot. So whatever you're not taking in AA, you can take in artillery, and vice versa. So at the end of the day, you're going to have to make a decision there whether you're going to go heavy on artillery or you're going to go heavy on AA. Of course, there is one more element to this, and I think that's what Steve-O is trying to tell me now. There's one more element to this. There is a difference between radar anti-air, and let's see, if you're looking at these Challenger Marksmen, they have radar rounds. Or at least their gun uses radar for tracking. There are seed planes, suppression of enemy air defense, that target anti-air units based solely on their radar guidance systems. So it doesn't actually target the unit itself, it targets the guidance system. So here's another element that micromanaging can bring to the game, is that if you turn off your gun until the enemy is within range of you, seed planes won't be able to see it because the radar systems on that unit are turned off. And yes, it is possible to turn off the radar systems on a unit by turning off the gun, which adds another layer of micro to the game, which, like I said, is interesting. Alright, well, let's move on from here. Normally I'd pick another artillery unit or a mortar unit for smoke, because smoke is pretty important to break line of sight for ATGMs and tanks and that sort of stuff. And it can save your units a little bit of time before moving into a crucial position to establish like a beachhead or an attacking point or something like that. Tanks are self-explanatory, except this is no longer World War II, and the era of the tank has come and gone. It's currently the era of the all-round war. Infantry and air. Unfortunately, I'm slowly running out of time because I think my StarCast is in 12 minutes. Let me check real quick.
If you have to go
Okay.
for StarCast, I'm already pretty pleased with what I've seen.
Alright, well, I've got another 5 minutes, so I will basically just, wrap it up real quick here. Well, tanks are pretty straightforward. If you use them in a defensive capability, I mean, they do have a lot of armor, and they can survive a little bit, and they do have an ability to snipe, and they do have a lot of damage, so tanks, the heavier tanks really are powerful. Medium tanks are good for screening and, defeating infantry and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, tanks are purely there for support. You want your infantry, you want your helicopters, you want all that stuff to attack with, and then you want your tanks to slowly move up and make sure that your units are covered from a safe distance. That's what you use your tanks for. Most people currently use tanks as their main force and get completely fucking slaughtered. But, whatever. Recon is one of the most key points of the game. If you can't see your enemy, you can't shoot at them. And if you can't see your enemy, they can still shoot at you if they can see you. So, recon is super important. You'd want some infantry recon, like, for instance, Recce, which have high stealth, which are sniper units with the Macmillan. You'd pick your, I think it's SBS that I have. And you'd pick, where's my squirrels? Squirrels, very fast, decently opticked helicopters. Vehicles, well, vehicles are the assortment of Well, tank destroyers, I guess, out-of-place vehicles that aren't tanks and that aren't infantry carriers, but that are more supporting units like that. They kind of fit into this category. And there's not really, it's basically the other category, because usually people don't pick a lot of units from here because they're very situational, if you catch my drift.
Gotcha.
You can find a lot of ground-based infantry with ATGMs, though, or now ground-based vehicles with ATGMs, which is quite nice. But for instance, this AVRE, this is just an artillery on top of a basic tank, and it fires super heavy shells, and it basically acts as like a small artillery platform. So it really is an infantry fighting vehicle, you know. All right, then we've got helicopters. They're pretty straightforward. You got your basic gunships, which just have some rockets, to your fucking Lynx with Hellfires and Stingers attached as well. They range very far and very wide. The most sought after helicopters are the cheap ones with anti-air, and the expensive ones with Hellfires or TOW-2s. Then you've got your planes. Well, I'm going to leave you to figure out what kind of planes you want. You've got seed planes, you've got bombs, you've got dummy bombs, you've got napalm, you've got everything pretty much. You just go through it and just figure out what what kind of playstyle you want. But the most important thing is always have the most superior air superiority fighter that you can have. And for this deck, it is the Eurofighter Typhoon. If I can find it, it should be somewhere here. Yeah, Eurofighter Typhoon. You can have two cards of them, and as you can see, that brings the total to 4 Eurofighters. And because of their high ECM and their AIM 120 AMRAAMs, makes them just kings of the fucking sky.
Awesome.
I love this game so fucking much. It is undescribable. And it pains me, but I have to go do do StarCast right now. So everyone currently in my channel, please head on over to Geek Domo. I'll put the can someone put the link in my chat real quick? I believe at least someone must have it already. Right, there we go. I've put the link in my chat. Please head on over there. StarCast will begin in 7 minutes. I will be ending my stream here. Thank you guys all very much for your support. Thank you guys all very much for being here. I apologize that I have not been here to read your chat. I've been teaching Grim Panda. He asked about Wargame, and I got a little bit excited, so I figured I'd just, show it to him. So that's what I did. That's why there's also no stream timer going. But if you have the patience to sit with me through StarCast, I will be back straight after bringing you Wargame until tomorrow morning. So please head on over to Geek Domo. I will be there in 7 minutes, and we will have some StarCast, and we'll talk a little bit about Star Citizen. So thank you guys all very much for being here. I'll be ending my stream now. I will be back in about 2 hours. Have a good night.
Thanks.